A dangerous hurricane is heading toward the U.S., and the president has been saying some very dumb stuff about it. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Donald Trump's first and only goal has always been enriching and protecting himself. In fact, you might remember that during his congressional testimony, Trump's ex-fixer Michael Cohen recounted that Trump's presidential bid began solely as a way to advertise his personal brand and make money, calling it the greatest infomercial in political history. And one of the very specific promises Trump made in his year-and-a-half-long infomercial was that he was the only candidate who could protect Americans, like the time he aired an ad that ended with the slogan, "Donald Trump will protect you. He is the only one who can." Which is not only wrong, but incredibly creepy. It sounds like something that would be scribbled on a note slipped under the door by a stalker in a Lifetime movie. You expect to hear that after your estranged husband appears on the balcony in a thunderstorm. Donald! You startled me. I'll protect you, Cynthia. I'm the only one who can. So, if you saw the Trump infomercial and you bought the product, that's what he claimed you were getting, a president who would protect you from danger. And if you order now, 2 free travel-size containers. But now it's as clear as ever been that much like any other product you buy from an infomercial, it was a lot than it looked on TV. For example, Trump was asked this weekend about a rebel faction in the country of Colombia, known by its Spanish acronym FARC, whose former leader has called for a return to violence after a peace deal. This is obviously a major foreign policy issue that any president should have at least a basic knowledge about. And yet, when Trump was asked about it, he barely seemed to even know what the reporter was talking about.
Colombia, how do you feel about former FARC leader calling to return to war?
Colombia, you said?
Yeah, Colombia, former leader of FARC.
You're talking about the country of Colombia? Yeah. No, we have a great relationship, and they're not doing badly. They have a problem because of Venezuela. A lot of people are pouring in. But Colombia, we've had a great relationship with Colombia.
Good Lord. It's like when the dumbest kid in your class is giving an oral report and stalling for the bell, but he's so dumb he forgot class just started. Colombia, you say? Yeah, sure, here we go. Buckle up, everybody, because here comes an oral report about Colombia, which is a country that is our friend. Come on, ring, bell, ring. Donald, it's 9:01. Also, what do you mean you're talking about the country of Colombia? What else could he be talking about? Did you think he was talking about Columbia Pictures? We have a great relationship with Colombia. In fact, we're right now in the process of obtaining a VHS copy of The Shawshank Redemption. Of course, Trump probably thinks FARC is just how they say fork in Boston. Honey, we don't need new silverware. I'll just go to Dunkies and steal some plastic forks. So Trump maybe doesn't know there's a country called Colombia. And then there's Trump's ignorance when it comes to Hurricane Dorian, a Category 2 hurricane currently approaching the U.S. Trump apparently knows just as much about hurricanes as he does about Colombia, because when it was first classified as a Category 5 hurricane, Trump went out of his way to say he had no idea what that was.
Dorian is the 4th Category 5 hurricane to threaten the U.S. since President Trump took office. But the president said at a FEMA briefing yesterday he's never heard of such a thing.
I'm not sure that I've ever even heard of a Category 5. I knew it existed, and I've seen some Category 4s. You don't even see them that much, but a Category 5 is something that I don't know that I've ever even heard the term, other than I know it's there.
What do you mean you've never heard of a Category 5 hurricane? You've already had 3 of them as president. You definitely heard of them, you just forgot. Is that why you're wearing a hat that says USA to remind you of which country you're in? God bless the USA. Also, that's not what anyone wants to hear from the president when a hurricane is bearing down on them. It's like if you called 911 and the operator said, 104-degree fever? I didn't know they went that high. Gary! Gary! Did you know it went to 104? Gary knew. But the weirdest thing about this is it's not even the first time Trump has used this line. In fact, he has repeatedly claimed throughout his presidency that he's never heard of a Category 5 hurricane before.
They've never seen a category like this come in because it came in really at a 5. It was a Category 5. I never even knew a Category 5 existed. This has been a Category 5, which few people have ever even heard of. A Category 5. Nobody's ever heard of a 5 hitting land. Category 5 hurricane, Category 5. Never heard about Category 5s before. It got hit as a 5, Category 5 storm, which just literally never happens. So we've never seen it actually touch down as a Category 5. People have never seen anything like that.
The best part of that montage, or that the faces of the people around him are definitely saying they have heard of a Category 5 before. Look at that. That is the face of a guy thinking, yeah, I can count to 5. Trump is incapable of and uninterested in delivering on the basic duties of his office. In fact, he often makes the situation worse, like when he tweeted on Sunday, in addition to Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and Alabama, will most likely be hit much harder than anticipated, looking like one of the largest hurricanes ever, already Category 5. Be careful, God bless everyone. Okay, first of all, why is the word much in parentheses like it's a secret? They'll be hit harder. Much harder. Second, and most importantly, Trump was wrong because 20 minutes later, the National Weather Service had to issue a clarification saying, and this is real, Alabama will not see any impacts from Dorian. We repeat, no impacts from Hurricane Dorian will be felt across Alabama. The system will remain too far east. The President of the United States said an entire state was in danger from a hurricane when it wasn't, and the government had to correct him. I hope we never see another wildfire ever again, but if you do, can you imagine the Trump tweet? Wildfires spreading quickly from California to New Jersey to Spain. Everyone in Barcelona, be careful, and God, Dios, bless you. Seriously, what? What other corrections is the government going to have to put out as Trump's brain continues to deteriorate? We're like a week away from the Justice Department tweeting, contrary to the president's tweet, the Joker is not a threat. He's a character in a movie played by Joaquin Phoenix. There is no evacuation of Gotham underway, nor is Gotham a real place. Trump is actively spreading disinformation about dangerous hurricane headed toward the U.S., despite the fact that he made a big show of staying in Washington to monitor the storm and even skipped a trip abroad, sending Vice President Mike Pence instead.
President Trump announcing today that he is canceling his trip to Poland this weekend because of Hurricane Dorian. The Poland trip was intended to mark the 80th anniversary of the beginning of World War II. The Vice President, Mike Pence, will attend in the president's place.
Okay, let's be honest. I bet Trump didn't want to go on this trip to begin with. He was probably happy to stay home. He hates going abroad. There's no Fox News. The McDonald's there have different menus. And he has to wear a full suit and tie instead of whatever this look is. I guess you could call this retiree chic. Eventually, though, they're going to have to add a message to the top of the hat that said, if found, return to the... Also, you know the other world leaders are probably relieved when they heard Trump wasn't showing up, because when he does, he always says something insane, like at the G7 in France last week when he was asked about the climate crisis, which, of course, is making natural disasters like hurricanes far more frequent and intense. And he said this insane thing.
Mr. President, there was a significant talk at the summit about climate change. I know in the past you've harbored some skepticism of science and climate change. What do you think the world should be doing about climate change, and do you still harbor that skepticism?
I feel that the United States has tremendous wealth. The wealth is under its feet. I've made that wealth come alive. And I'm not going to lose that wealth. I'm not going to lose it on dreams, on windmills, which, frankly, aren't working too well. I'm not going to lose it.
No, you've definitely lost it. You're rambling about windmills and making wealth come alive under our feet. You're like an old prospector. You should be wearing a Stetson hat with a canteen around your neck. There's riches in these hills, boys, right under our feet. We just got to make it come alive. On top of that, Trump also used the occasion as a way to enrich himself by reportedly encouraging Pence to stay at Trump's private golf resort in Ireland on Pence's way back from Poland, with taxpayers once again picking up the tab. Pence was in Ireland holding meetings in Dublin, and yet he chose to stay at Trump's resort, which is a 3-hour drive away on the other side of the country. That's like if every night when I did this show, instead of going back to my apartment, I stayed at a Radisson in Baltimore because Lorne Michaels owned it. It's a nice Radisson, and you know, if you don't want us to wash your towels, just hang them up. And when he was asked today about this obviously corrupt practice, Pence clearly did not have a good answer.
Vice President Mike Pence took over the boss's duties overseas, sparking criticism by going well out of his way in Ireland to stay at a Trump resort there.
Just to give you a chance to respond, Democrats have criticized you today for staying at the Trump property in Doonbeg. They say you're enriching the president. What's your response to that criticism?
It's wonderful to be back in Ireland.
Nothing is better than watching the fake-principled, holier-than-no-one Pence bot short circuit. Mr. Vice President, as a religious man, what are your thoughts on the president paying off an adult film star to cover up an affair he had while being married? It's great to be back in Ireland. He was so flummoxed, his brain literally froze. In fact, after that, he just stood there on the lawn for a few hours while technicians rewired him. The president sold himself as a strong man who was uniquely suited to protecting Americans, and he has repeatedly made clear he's utterly incapable of even that basic task, both because he's incompetent and because his only interest is enriching himself. We've had corrupt, stupid presidents before, but Donald Trump is at a level
which few people have ever even heard of.
This has been A Closer Look.